This is a call to order the November 2nd, 2022 regular meeting of the Ducktown Council. And at this time, I'd like to ask Sergeant Joe Knight and Lieutenant Missy Clark if they would lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please join me in a moment of silence. Thank you. At this time, we're going to go on to item number 2, public comments. If you'd like to address the council, I have a sign-up sheet here. I'm going to go through the list first. Come to the podium, state your name and address, and your comments will be limited to 3 minutes. And there is a clock that's going to be up there for your use as you're up there speaking. So the first one is going to be Scott Kessler.
Scott Kessler, 1377 Duck Road, Mayor, Council, Town officials. I am up here under slight duress from my wife, who is in the state of New York right now visiting her elderly aunt, who just got COVID. And when she found out just this week about the access to the beach and the different issues that are going on, she became very upset. And she said that I would come and I would read her letter, which some of you may have already gotten. But I've been married for 35 years and I do what I'm told because I found that it works better that way. Dear Town of Duck officials, I am horrified to hear that there is consideration on the part of the Town of Duck to allow vehicular access to our beaches. As a full-time resident and frequent user of our quiet and peaceful beaches, which we are currently paying big bucks to renourish, I cannot conceive of any earthly reason to allow vehicles other than turtle folks and rescue folks on our beach. I also cannot believe that this has not received more press. Allowing homeowners and full-time residents the chance to weigh in on this terrible idea. It is not okay with me to have vehicles destroying our beach, endangering us and our pets, and getting stuck and needing to be towed. Please reconsider this ill-conceived idea. Kristen Kessler, 1377 Duck Road. Thank you.
Thank you, Scott. John Clement.
Good evening. I'm John Clement. I'm the property owner at 133 Old Duck Beach Road. Some of you probably remember that I used to live at on Duck Landing Lane for about 10 years. We are starting the construction of a new house shortly. And first of all, I'd like to thank the town for the announcement yesterday on the decision to use the Port Trinity site and Southern Shores for beach nourishment. And I especially want to thank Drew. I wrote several letters to Drew and to the town council, and I received very prompt and transparent responses, and that's really nice. Thank you. Very refreshing. Now that we found a way to do beach nourishment without the barrier island ramp, there's 2 things I think that are really important, okay? One is securing a long-lasting agreement with the Corps of Engineers for permanent access to the ocean. We all know that the Corps of Engineers site is the best site. Our emergency services building is there, it's midway, and we've been using it for all these times. Plus, we provide services to the Corps, and a 30 or 40 foot wide access road would be a real partner. It would help our partnership. To that end, my homeowners association, the Old Duck Beach Association, we wrote to our congressmen and our senators, and we did have a conference call with Senator Tillis and Dr. Murphy's staffs on Monday, and they pledged to help us, okay? We told them, obviously, that we're not the implementers, but they said that they would work hard to get the Corps and town staff and councilmen together to work on the issues. And so I think that's good. One of the things that I would suggest would be for one of the council members to take personal responsibility, one or more, to take personal responsibility for the Corps relationship, because it's very important to this town. Finally, I'd like to say that our association is against the town doing anything to increase the number of vehicles on the beach, okay? And I think to get your rationale for that, all you need to do is to look at this document, which is the town vision, okay? I'm going to try to read 4 sentences in this vision, okay? And the first one is, we respect and value our delicate yet dynamic barrier island environment, clean waters and beaches, maritime forests, wetlands, and dewscapes. The second is, Duck is a pedestrian-first community that is safe and easy to navigate by walking and cycling.
I'm sorry, John, your time is up.
Okay,
Thank you.
sorry about that.
Miriam Rowland?
Mayor, Town Council, and other Duck officials and guests, and Drew, again, thank you for your transparent communications on this topic. I'm Miriam Rowland, and we own on Plover Drive and will be permanent residents as of January 1. I will address beach driving in Duck by the public. I recognize the need for official vehicular access to the beach by the town of Duck and support an effort to figure out an effective way to address that need on an ongoing basis, including U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. But I want to be very clear, there is no proposal that would be more deeply and irretrievably damaging to the unique, beautiful, and fragile beach of Duck than the driving of private vehicles on the beach. Beach driving in Duck is now permitted by ordinance from October through April, but the lack of any significant public vehicular access in Duck has minimized the negative results of that rule. However, the recent proposal to allow public vehicular access via BIS per the town's CAMA permit application would be extremely detrimental and was advanced without a real opportunity for public input until now. In opposition to that town BIS proposal, I drafted a petition, which was sent to the council and town manager last night. I sent out the petition for sign-ons after 5 p.m. on Sunday, and in just 2 days, by Tuesday evening, it had hundreds of owners of more than 150 properties across the town of Duck who had signed, and more tried to sign afterwards, but I'd closed it. Please include the petition I had emailed as a part of this meeting's public comment. Others sent messages privately opposing the BIS vehicular access directly to the town. Some CC'd me as well. As the petition states, vehicular access to Duck's beaches via BIS October through April would, 1, cause danger to children, adults, and pets walking and relaxing on the beach, both daytime and in the evening. 2, cause harm to turtle hatchlings, birds, crabs, and other wildlife on the beach. 3, damage the dune. When the tide is high, particularly Plover Drive where we live, the only place to drive would be on the dune, and that's true in many places. And 4, cause pollution of several types on our beach. Air pollution, exhaust fumes, noise pollution, engine noises, visual pollution, vehicles between you and the surf, and in the evening, light pollution, headlights making stargazing or watching a moonrise impossible. I am deeply appreciative that the town of Duck at 5 p.m. yesterday announced that it would not move forward the BIS vehicular access at this time and would discuss the vehicular beach access issue at the town's annual retreat in February. Now, I call on the town of Duck after its February review of the issue to revise beach driving ordinance and, like Kitty Hawk and Southern Shores, say no public beach driving allowed in the town of Duck at all, only official town vehicles permitted. Thank you for your consideration.
David Flowers?
Thank you, Bill. The sentiment has already been expressed by others before me. Thank you very much.
Thank you, David. Rita Munry?
Hi, I'm Rita Muncy, and I have a house at 127 Old Duck Beach, Old Duck Beach Road. We get confused sometimes. Sometimes we call it Old Duck Beach, sometimes we call it Old Duck Beach Road. I concur with the sentiments expressed here today. I think I wrote to you, and I've written you, and I've written to you all, too, so you might recognize my name. We've had property here, same property, for 44 years. It took that long to get the hair this way, you know? So I don't have a whole lot to add to what everybody has said, but I have one little thing I want to say that I haven't heard yet. I am opposed to any beach access at all. I will allow for life saving. What can you do, right? But here's the thing. When you have considered allowing Barrier Island Station to have a beach access, it seems to me that you're just giving the store away. I didn't hear of any concessions by Barrier Island Station except, oh, you can go over our dune. Well, that suits them just fine. But they haven't given a whole lot to the town in return. Not that I think they should, because I think it should be forbidden altogether. But here's one thing. My community is right next to Barrier Island Station, and they have installed some very bright lights at night, which the neighbors whose houses back up to that part of this Barrier Island Station complain. They can't sleep at night. They have to install shades and dark blackout curtains and everything. Barrier Island Station has not been responsive. They used to have yellow lights, the bug lights, which were not so offensive. But these bright white lights are offensive. They're even offensive when you walk down to the beach. And they have not responded to us on any of that. If they cannot respond to such a small item, how do you think they're going to respond when there are problems with driving on the beach? They're not going to. It's all one way with them. And I'm going to leave you with that thought. But there's also one more thing. The Corps of Engineers has closed off their beach in the past for experiments to protect their instruments. They could do it again. They could do it for any of their own reasons. And one of the reasons might be, we don't like those Barrier Island Station people driving on our beach. So they'll close off their section of the beach. And then what are we left with? The people south of Barrier Island Station are going to have trucks and cars going up and down there, joyriding all the time because they can't get any further north. And they won't see a whole lot of the beach.
Thank you, Rita. Your time is up.
Darn, I had more to say.
Jennifer Bednar.
To start with, I was taking my time with Mary, but I understand that wasn't allowed, so thank you. But my sentiments have been spoken. Thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer. Greg Beckwith.
Mayor, council member, Drew. My name's Greg Beckwith, and I reside at 147 Plover. I've been an owner of that residence since 1996, and ironically, I also own 2 lots, one in Corova and one in Swan on the 4-wheel drive beach, which is where I think all the vehicular traffic should be allowed to operate, but not in the town of Duck. 3 quick things. Saturday, I'm fishing at the end of Plover. At the end of Plover, there's a house owned by the Dailies. When I came down the walkover, I had to place my bucket right at the base of our stairs, of our walkover, to cut my bait so I could fish. The water was lapping up on the stairs by the Dailies. You cannot even conceive of having any vehicular travel, especially traffic on Duck Beach, especially during high tides, and this was an unusual high tide in that the winds were about 17, 20 miles an hour. The second thing is, one of our neighbors, also a person who owns an establishment in Duck and runs it daily, talked to friends of theirs, and they said, well, we kind of would like to have it because our friends have a place in Barrier Islands, and they said we can come and use it anytime we want. And that's what you're encouraging. And the third thing that I want to say that hasn't been mentioned, if you allow public access, you have undermined the bedrock of the decisions of the appellate courts of the state of North Carolina in the Hovey matter. That decision was rested in large part on the fact that there's no public access in the town of Duck. Now you're thinking about opening an access to a limited number of people. How's Hovey going to feel about that access if he's not guaranteed a place where he can come in or know somebody in Barrier Island? You're opening up a can of worms if you allow it. Thank you.
Thank you, Greg. Would anyone else like to address the council this evening? There being no one, we're going to close public comments. Mayor? Oh, you have two. I'm sorry. Town Clerk Lori Ackerman will speak.
Thank you. I have two public comments that were written in. First one was from Christy Rosensick. I am writing to express my opposition to granting vehicle access to the beach during the months of October to April or any time at all via Barrier Island Station. On Wednesday, October 12th, while sitting on the beach, a beach buggy-style vehicle came driving down the beach. It was immediately apparent the driver was inexperienced driving on the sand. The vehicle was going too fast and at times swerving in the sand, the driver struggling to maintain control. At one point, the driver lost control of the vehicle, driving over a chair and tackle box, causing damage to both. Thankfully, no one was sitting in the chair. The driver had no concern for the damage done and sped off, continuing to struggle controlling the vehicle. We reported the incident to a lifeguard. An incident like this will be the first of many, and worse, it will only be a matter of time before someone is injured or worse, killed. We can appreciate the Barrier Island Station Association wanting to enhance off-season rentals by offering this feature. However, this imposes a safety issue on us all. The town of Duck will become part of lawsuits and will take on a liability being a party to allowing this. Further, there are numerous environmental concerns. Duck's natural beauty in the spring and fall, as well as town features and activities, offer off-season visitors a unique experience. I strongly urge the Town of Duck Council to oppose granting vehicle access as it is not necessary for the beach nourishment project. Respectfully, Christy Rosensick. The second one is from Patty Nelson. Hello, Town Council members, Town Manager Drew Havens. I am Patty Nelson. I own a home at 112 Old Duck Road in Duck. I spoke at the October 5th public comment period representing the Old Duck Beach Owners Association. I'm sorry that I can't attend this council meeting in person. On Tuesday, November 1st, some members of our board had a conference call with the staff of Senator Tillis and Congressman Murphy's office. We asked for their assistance in getting the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers Federal Research Facility leadership and the Town of Duck leadership to develop a long-term agreement for access to the beach for both surf and rescue and future beach nourishment projects through the USACE FRF property. They were willing to reach out to the two parties and see what dialogue could be encouraged. Since the 2022 Beach Nourishment Project is moving forward with access through the Port Trinity neighborhood and the Southern Shores beach access, there is no immediate need for beach access through Barrier Island Station. If a long-term agreement can be obtained with the USAC FRF, then there wouldn't be a need for the Barrier Island Station vehicular access at all. For this reason, I would request that the Town of Duck hold off on installing the Barrier Island Station ramp until other avenues are exhausted. Thank you for your consideration on this matter.
Thank you, Laura. Would anyone else like to address the council this evening? There being none, we'll close public comments. Moving on to item number 3, the consent agenda. Tonight it contains minutes from the September 7th, 2022 regular meeting. A service agreement with Coastal Protection Engineering to update the town's NC Resilience Coastal Communities Program Phase 2, planning, project identification, and prioritization using funds provided by North Carolina Division of Coastal Management. Ordinance 22-09, a grant ordinance for the town of Duck, North Carolina, American Rescue Plan Act of 2021, Coronavirus State and Local Fiscal Recovery Funds. Amendment to the employment agreement between the town of Duck and Andrew Havens. Resolution 22-16, a resolution of the Town Council of the Town of Duck, North Carolina, showing appreciation and support for the Dare County election staff and precinct workers. Agreement for professional services between VHB Engineering, North Carolina, LLC, and the Town of Duck for a neighborhood stormwater management study under SC Resilience Coastal Communities Program, Phase 3 Grant Program, and a certain budget amendment. And with that, I'll entertain a motion for.
I make a motion that we accept the consent agenda as presented.
Any discussion on the motion on the floor?
Just to say that I was pleased to see that we had a professional service agreement with VHB and where they're identifying those stormwater communities that could use that, and that looks really exciting. So just wanted to call that to everyone's attention.
Thank you, Monica. I would just point out, too, on the ordinance with respect to the resolution with respect to expressing courtesy to our poll workers and precinct workers on the upcoming election day, and I would encourage everyone to make sure they're out and vote either absentee, in person now, or on election day. And with that, I'll take a vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 5-0. At this time, I would ask if Town Manager Drew Havens, Chief Jeff Ackerman, Lieutenant Missy Clark, and Sergeant Joe Knight would come to the podium. Looks like we have half our police force here. Several years ago, the Town of Duck Council put in place a service recognition program where we recognize employees on the service to the Town of Duck every 5 years. And with that, we give them a gift certificate to a business within the Town of Duck and a certificate of accomplishment. Tonight, we are really pleased to announce a 10-year anniversary of Police Sergeant Joseph Knight, who joined us on October 4th, 10 years ago. Congratulations, Joseph. And Joe's never for a loss for words.
I just want to say thank you so much. This town is a great place to work. I have so much support behind me. It really tells you what kind of people you work for when you stay at a place for so long. And it's been just a great place for me to work. And under Chief Ackerman and Lieutenant Clark, they fully support me, and I really appreciate everything that they've done for me the past 10 years. Thank you.
And he's a video star, too.
Congratulations again, Sergeant. The next item on the agenda, item 4B, we're going to get a presentation by OBX GoFar regarding a 2023 turkey trot. And I think we've got in the attendance here Samantha Locke, Executive Director of OBX GoFar, and Chris Owen, CEO of the Outer Banks Community Foundation. Welcome to both of you. Hi, Chris. Good to see you.
Hello, Mayor Kingston, council members, Town of Duck staff. It's an honor to appear before you and introduce Samantha Locke. We're here to talk about the turkey trot that has gone on in the Town of Duck for decades. We were fortunate to have at the Outer Banks Community Foundation Nancy Cavanis as a board member for several years, and to see her work to grow this race into a jewel of a race on the Outer Banks was just wonderful. As she announced that she was ending her race, the Advice 5K, after 25 years, she encouraged us to look for other partners who might continue this tradition. The proceeds from the race here at Duck, which was staffed in large part by employees and volunteers from the Town of Duck, has made a tremendous impact in our community. I'm just going to read a few of the grants that we were able to award from the Advice 5K Fund. Grants to Outer Banks Hotline, the Currituck County Exceptional Children's Program, Community Care Clinic of Dare, Maine and Tail, Children and Youth Partnership, Interfaith Community Outreach, Food for Thought, North Carolina Med Assist, and the Outer Banks Hospital Cancer Center. The most recent grant that the Advice 5K Fund has awarded was to OBX GoFar, as they relaunched their program after a couple years where they were sidelined because of COVID. This is a tremendous program. There's nothing like it on the Outer Banks. No one is out there working with kids on fitness, wellness, fighting childhood obesity. And Nancy Cavanis, when we started talking about partnering with OBX GoFar, was incredibly supportive. She had a certain style for her race, but she welcomed a new chapter, and that's what they'll bring to the table. This will be a family event with your help and your support and your approval. So I'd like to introduce Samantha Locke.
I don't know if I need to say anything. Do I, following that up? I'm really excited to be here. I'm usually known as Coach Sam, right, Addison? So yeah, I got to roll up in here and see sweet little Addison Knight, who I've been coaching since she was like this big. So we are very, very grateful to be here. OBX GoFar has been here, like the screen says, for 13 years. I'm not going to tell you a ton about GoFar because I have a video I really want to show you that tells you everything. So in 10 years, we had this beautiful gift to get to create. Oh, look, I don't know how to use it. What do I do, Joe? Oh, I got it. So in the Baldwin helped create this video for us, sums up our 10 years of GoFar. So during COVID, as Chris mentioned, we needed some help. We didn't stop. That's why we kept going. Every season, we still had GoFar, all during COVID. We just didn't charge families. So that's why we are where we are now. But here's GoFar summed up for you.
Good nutrition, good sleep habits, just getting out and being active and moving. Today, we have two groups of children. One of them is training for a 1-mile fun run, and the other group is training for a 5K. We have all different levels of fitness. We have some kids that have never run. We have some kids that are used to running or they do a lot of running. So today, we'll get the kids out here from 1 mile behind me. We'll be doing a series of things out here.
I'm London Russell, and I did the 5K today.
So I think, yeah, that sums up way more than I could say. Yeah, the kids are amazing. The families are amazing. The volunteers are amazing. So we have been very, very blessed to be able to do that for the last, oh, where do I go? Oh, Joe, back. How do I go back? How do I go back, ladies? Oh, right here. Oh, looky. You know who that is? I purposely snuck this in. Yeah, this is Brayton Hurd, in case anybody wants to know, in the bottom right-hand corner. This is also a component of GoFar that's not in the video. So we created the Miles College Education Fund in 2018. And these are our recipients in the bottom right-hand corner from last year. That is a Brayton Hurd, right there in the bottom right-hand corner. And I actually can't remember a beautiful other child's name right here. Too many kids. But we have awarded $11,000 since 2018 for any college, they don't have to necessarily be college bound. They have to be pursuing travel, pursuing a future after they graduate. They can apply for the Miles College Education Fund. So we are really working to build that up. So that is not in the video. And I know I gotta hurry. So here we go. This is probably what I want you to know most about GoFar. We're, I think, unlike any other nonprofit I know. We partner with everyone, every town. Here, guess what? The only town we haven't had a race in is Duck. We've had a race in Kitty Hawk, Buxton, Avon, Rodanthe, Manio, Wanchese. I mean, we were even Wanchese. So when they said Duck, I was like, oh man, I think so. So we have partnered with Outer Banks Relief Foundation to do the Miles Cupcake 5K we just did last spring. Half the proceeds of that event went to Outer Banks Relief Foundation for cancer research. We've partnered with all of Dare County schools. We've produced races for Nags Head Elementary, Kitty Hawk Elementary, First Flight Middle School to help their PTOs raise money and funds. We partner with Dare County. We just did that race 2 weeks ago. It's the Dare to Scare 5K, and if you go on OBX today, the video's there. You'll see our event right there. So we help them produce that. All those funds for the Virginia Tillett Community Center go to the Dare County Toy Drive. And we built the races for Hatteras Island Youth Education Fund. So we are in the business of races and events and health and wellness. And we'd like to come here with Outer Banks Community Foundation and Chris and help bring back the turkey trot. So that's what I got. One last slide, because I do know how the arrow works now. Any questions? No questions? Nothing?
Well, I do. I have a
Oh, yay.
question. Number one, thank you for everything you've done for
Thank
the
you.
kids. And it's just, it's great to see. I watched that video this morning about the Dare to Scare. And
Yeah.
that
Oh,
looks
cool.
really great. What is your vision for doing the turkey trot? I mean, that was a passion of Nancy Cavanis and.
Right.
Is that,
Oh, I do have to say one thing. My vision does include medals. Any race we do, right? Gotta have a medal.
Well,
So, yeah, we talked about it a little bit. I should let you know, we do have a turkey trot in Southern Shores and have for 11 years.
Yeah.
You can go check in with Cliff Ogburn, who's helping us right now get ready to produce our 11th year. But the vision for here would be a family fun event. And I know Nancy's always brought that to the table, but we're kids. We're about kids, we're about families, we're about bringing in the bling. They don't like the bling. They like the medals. And they like the awards and the events and the getting everybody out there. So yeah, we also talked about not laying out any full plan course or anything until we spoke with the town. So, everybody does things a little bit differently. Each town's a little different.
great.
Yeah.
What support would you need from the town? We used to provide quite a bit of turkey trot.
I'm looking back at Joe Knight. PD, I would imagine. Yeah, PD would be the main thing. Most of our towns, like even with Southern Shores, just because that's what I know for the past 11 years, we contact, we're pretty thorough. We contact the police and we contact fire and we contact town and we get all on the same page and then go from there. We also have the ham radio guys at every event Jim Caranda is our man, so he comes out to every race with all of his guys to help us man the course, which is vital. You can't really have a great 5K without a ham radio group because they run the course, so we'd bring them with us too.
Where are we at with discussions with town staff? Maybe Drew, you can answer that, or?
Yeah, maybe bring it up with the...
So this was to have these folks come and introduce the idea of GoFar and the foundation producing the turkey trot in 2023. So it's not something they're going to do this year.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
You know, this
We need a
was
whole year.
this was us wanting to be sure that the council was aware there were going to be some conversations happening with your staff and working with Samantha and with Chris. It just seems to be, to me anyway, it seemed to be a logical extension of the prior turkey trots, but I wanted you all to hear it, and then obviously if you have direction other than the one we're going in, which is to have this come back in 2023, I'd love to hear that from you.
Yes.
Samantha, I have a question.
Yes.
So in the past, the turkey trot in Duck was open to entrance, all family people and all that. Would this be the same thing?
Yes, yes.
Oh, okay. And are you wanting to do it every year in Duck?
I mean, ideally, yeah.
Okay.
We don't usually come in and do a race 1 or 2 times.
Yeah.
Even the one that we set up for Hatteras Island, we did for them at least the first 3 or 4 years. So,
Okay.
yeah, no, it would be a go-far event more than like Hatteras was a Hatteras Island Youth Education Fund event, so,
Great.
yeah.
Okay.
But we would have an entire plan, course, and an RD come and propose the actual event upon approval to do it. Does that make sense? So we didn't lay out any perfect plan, and otherwise you'd have lots more slides. Lots more slides. Our RDs are very thorough.
You just said you would open it up. I think in the past, Nancy used to limit it to 600 runners.
Oh, you mean would we cap it? Yeah, of course. We'd have to cap per town capacity, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I got that phone call from Cliff the other day. He goes, I saw your registration numbers. I go, don't panic. We capped it. So.
It is popular. People love that.
Well, it's the largest race day of the year.
Right.
Across the world. Everyone wants to get together with their family to do something that feels good.
Yeah.
And what feels better than getting out with all your kids and your family and running together? We have a 6-foot-tall trophy we give in Southern Shores for the largest flock. And it's the largest family that comes and runs together. So we'd bring that to Duck too, probably. People like that. So
Great. That's exciting.
thank you. And just so you know, this is my home too. 106 Spyglass Road is my family's house. And I'd have to agree with you guys too on the beach driving. Sorry. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much. We look
Thank
forward
you.
to working with you. Okay, moving on to item number 5, quasi-judicial public hearings. We have none at this time. Number 6, legislative public hearings. We have none at this time. 7, old business items deferred from previous meetings, none at this time. And number 8, new business, we do have an item. Discussion consideration of a request from Waste Management of Virginia Incorporation for a $1.10 per residential unit per month fee increase effective December 1, 2022. At this time, I'd like to turn it over to Town Manager Drew Havens.
I think they're going to get me I just have a couple slides I just want to show just to kind of set the stage a little bit so you all understand what's being requested and a little bit of the relationship that we have with Waste Management, which, as you know, goes back to when the town was incorporated. So the action we're requesting tonight is that you consider the request from Waste Management for a rate increase. A little history. So the current contract we have was effective on October 1st of 2020. This contract ends September 30, 2023. So it was a 3-year contract. Built into the contract is an inflation escalator that is capped at 2.5%. So it's based on the all goods urban consumer price index change, again with a 2.5% cap. Our current per unit residential rate is $22.06 per month. That's $22.06 per residential unit. That was effective as of the last rate increase, which was 2.5%, because they were obviously up against the inflation cap. They're requesting an additional $1.10 per residential unit for a total of $23.16 per residential unit. And this is per month. Equates to an additional cost per month of $2,502.50. And for the balance of the fiscal year, that runs about $17,500. So it does have a budgetary impact. We do have our representatives here from Waste Management. I have them come up here in just a moment. I will show this slide too. This is not a mystery to anybody watching this or in the audience here. Inflation has, so that red line is at 2.5%, which is their cap. On the far left is January of 2020. On the far right is September of 2022, which is the last CPI data that had been released. Inflation's running at 8-9%, and they're capped at 2.5%. So that's where this request is coming from. And I'll ask Rob Clendenin to come up and speak to this if you would. And Jenny, and Jenny's gonna come too. So you all know Rob. You may not know Jenny. So she is, what's your title?
District manager.
District manager. So she runs waste management around here. And I will say that we've really appreciated working with Jenny and her team. They have a new team in place. And the second half of our summer went much better than the first half. And it's because of Jenny and her folks. So I wanted her to at least get introduced to you all. And you all take it over.
Thank you. Again, my name's Rob Clendenin. I appreciate the minute to spend with you. I'm here basically with my hat in my hand. I know what our contract says. We are struggling to maintain services based on cost increases that are just unprecedented. We have struggled through the COVID pandemic and maintained services, but what we consider essential services, but really not since World War II or 1970 have we seen inflation at these levels. So nobody could have predicted when we signed a contract 3 years ago, 2.5% probably seemed pretty reasonable to us. But we wouldn't have expected that the cost of steel that we use for containers and trucks would have increased 200% since January of 2020, and it has. Our frontline labor costs have increased more than 60% since 2020. Fuel is up 60%. The resin and plastics that are made, the containers that you see on the streets are made out of, those have increased 50% since 2020. So, really the index that really more tracks what our costs are as an industry is the PPI, the Producer Price Index. It's really kind of a leading indicator that would indicate what CPI what's gonna happen to CPI. But the Producer Price Index for trucking has increased 31% since January 2020. So, our costs have just really not, this 5%, frankly, that we're requesting is not even coming close to covering what our actual cost increase are. We just felt that it's a number that was reasonable enough that you could consider it and hopefully agree to our sort of hat in hand request. So, and I'll have any questions, be happy to answer.
Rob, I would have one. What would be the impact if, in fact, we didn't give you this increase? What would how would you speculate with respect to service between now and the end of the fiscal year?
No change. Waste management, I've worked for waste management for 28 years. I've worked through a lot of contracts that lose money, and we do not fail to perform contracts. It's not something that's in our DNA. So even if we lose money, we'll perform. But this contract, again, is up for renewal, I guess, in the fall of a little less than a year from now. So it's kind of an indicator of what you might expect to happen in next fall as well.
Are you experiencing excessive turnover too of labor?
We're maintaining.
No, we're maintaining. I'm very lucky compared to my neighboring sites in Virginia. We get a lot of military retiring that are able to come in, so I'm very stabilized when it comes to staffing.
As an industry, as a region, we're down tremendously. I think we're short 200 drivers in the Virginia, Northeast North Carolina, Maryland, DC region, which we're a part of. We currently have 200 openings for drivers. So yeah, we have a shortage of drivers, no doubt. The business unit that services you guys is holding their own, so we're good.
How many other municipalities are you making the same appeal to? And if you've done it before, what was the result of it?
The answer to that is everyone. So we're going to every one of our residential customers and asking for this. Really, it's a residential problem for us. It's not a commercial problem. If you're somebody that follows waste management or WM as a company, I mean, we're a profitable company. The other lines of business that we operate do okay. Residential for us is not okay. So we're really here. Every one of our residential contracts, we're asking for this increase. And the responses have been mixed. Some towns have agreed, some towns have not, some have not answered. So it's kind of across the board.
So your request basically is an additional approximately 5% on top of the 2.5?
Yes, sir.
Take you up to 7.5?
Yes, sir. Thank you. We appreciate your consideration. Any other questions?
Any more questions?
No.
Thank you.
Drew, back to you. Are we looking to make a decision now?
Yes, sir.
Okay, back to council discussion.
Well, I mean, I don't think it's unreasonable, honestly. I mean, we all see what's going on, and I mean, a partnership and a deal has to be good for everybody. If it's not, it's not a good deal. So, I mean, I understand the need, and sometimes it's okay to say, sorry, we can't help you now. But I think this is a time where it's a little extraordinary, and I think if I wouldn't be opposed to it. I think it's a reasonable request based on everything I'm seeing with, cost of personnel, fuel, maintenance, all of that sort of thing. I don't think it's unreasonable.
I have to go along with Tony. He's basically said almost everything I wanted to say.
I would just make a comment that we've been partnered with Waste Management for many, many years. And although this is an unusual suggestion, we do understand what the economy is doing. And in fact, obviously, we didn't even talk about it, but could be even a diesel fuel shortage in the southeast over the next quarter or 2 quarters. So I think it's a reasonable request. I would support it.
I wasn't surprised to see this on the agenda, and I appreciate having Waste Management come down here to talk about it in person. I don't object to it based on everything that we're all faced with. And I do appreciate our partnership with Waste Management over the years. So I would support this.
I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve a request from Waste Management of Virginia Incorporated for a $1.10 per residential unit per month fee increase effective December 1st, 2022.
And the motion could also authorize the town manager and town attorney to negotiate a contract amendment to reflect that.
Yes. Thank you.
Any discussion on the motion on the floor? There being none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes 5-0. Thank you very much. Going on to item number 9, items referred to in presentations of the town attorney. Robert?
No report this evening, Mayor.
Thank you, Robert.
But if there are any questions, I'd be glad to respond.
Item number 10, items referred to in presentations of the town manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We'll go with the department updates. Mr. Hurd, you first, Deputy Chief Bachelet, Chief Ackerman, Ms. Nickens, and then Ms. Barnes.
Good evening, Mayor Kingston, members of council, members of the public.
Whoops.
So this evening, we just have a few things for you, starting with our, as we usually do every month, with the permit activity. So you can see up here, in spite of the fact that we're comparing this to a huge year last year, we have the same amount of building permits issued this year over the past month in October, and that's a very significant number for us this time of year. You can see overall, as we go over to the right-hand column, we are down just slightly from last year to this point, but when you get down to the total number of permits there, you can see down 20% on the year total. So it's spread out pretty well this past month. The only significant cluster is probably that area there around Schooner Ridge. We had a lot of different activity there with building permits. We had 2 new homes that are proposed that we issued permits for, one at 145 Elm Drive, one at 127 Hillside Court. And then want to move on to just to give you a few project updates. First, there are 2 different projects associated with the Resilient Coastal Communities Program, or RCCP. They're going to be going on concurrently. So you had in your consent agenda both of these items. So one of which is Coastal Protection Engineering is going to be doing an update to the work that was done during phases 1 and 2 to make that more comprehensive, to include more projects in our prioritization. The importance of that is that we're going to use that list for grants, and we're going to use that list when we're talking with you about upcoming projects so that you can see all the things that our community has done to identify those projects that are important to us to become a more resilient community and to implement our hazard mitigation plan, land use plan, and those types of things. So they're going to be working on that through just say through mid-January, they'll be done. I don't want you to confuse that with the other effort that's for phase 3, and that's with VHB, and they're going to be working with the affected neighborhoods in 5 different areas where we had some problematic flooding, standing stormwater, and they're going to be working with those communities to develop solutions, potential solutions to that flooding. The end product of that is going to be a list of projects that we could then apply for funding to implement in years that follow. And we don't know what those solutions are going to be yet. Hopefully, they're strongly encouraged to use nature-based solutions like swales and ponds and rain gardens and things of that nature. But they'll be working with those neighborhoods, and they're also going to have some community meetings along that process. So that's going to be very intensive from a public input standpoint. And that'll be going on through, just say about mid-April, that project. I also want to give you an update on our coastal resiliency project in North Duck Village there along the Sound. So our CAM permits are under review. Right now, FEMA review is ongoing before we get the official, $1.7 million grant related to the project. Unfortunately, as you've been informed, that it's going to put us outside the time frame of being able to accomplish the project during this cycle. So we're really looking at October, November of next year for the bulk of the project. So it'd come back to 2023. Unfortunately, one of the things that means that we have to get updated easements for all the temporary easements on the east side that had a sunset date that would have been in June of 2023. So we'll have to try to get a year's extension to those easements. And beach nourishment, you can see the picture there on the right is the newly installed subline that goes out into the ocean. That'll be hooked up to the dredge that'll pump sand to the beach. So the Weeks Marine, the contractor, is going to begin work at that temporary access point at Port Trinity sometime soon. Could be as soon as this week, but they had a few weather days, so they may be looking at next week. And then to bring the dredge next, it could be as soon as next week for the dredge to begin pumping. More than likely, they're going to begin pumping south to tie into that Port Trinity access, but just a narrow way. They're not going to do the whole beach in that area, just enough to get their vehicles up this area. Then they're going to complete the project to the north. Then they're going to turn around and move south after that. So they anticipate your project will be 30 to 35 days in length. And I did want everyone to know this is important, that we're going to have a public information meeting here in this space at 1:30 on November the 9th. So that's Wednesday of next week. Okay, so that's going to be, since they're moving their operations to Duck, we thought it was appropriate to move that meeting up here. They've held other ones during the project in other towns, but now they're going to be here in Duck. So people with questions about the project are welcome to come to that meeting and have those answered by our engineers with CPE and contractors with Weeks Marine.
Joe, could I ask a quick question about that? Am I to understand that now that the Port Trinity access is there, that we won't see bulldozers coming up through Southern Shores? We won't have that parade of
no, that's actually the only place that they can come up is through for Southern Shores.
So the Port Trinity.
We are not Port Trinity access, and even Bear Island when that was being proposed, but the Port Trinity access is now the only one in Duck. And that's just really for their employees.
Right, and the equipment and
they
the
have ships and they have fuel that they take out to.
So we still will see the equipment coming up?
Yes.
All right, great.
Yes, so all the heavy equipment, all that's going to be coming up from Southern Shores. because that's the only place it can. We don't have the width at Port Trinity to even accommodate that if they wanted to.
That's what I wanted to clarify. I just didn't see about the parade as I'm thinking it through of that
Okay.
equipment. Yeah, so that's still going to happen.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And finally, I wanted to make the public aware of volunteer opportunities. Volunteers with duck sweep, the trash pickup, is wrapping up this Friday. 29 different cleanups this year. Jim Gould, Sandy Cross were key in that. Bessie Trimble helps a lot with that as well. So we appreciate their efforts, as well as the many, many dozens of residents and even visitors who participated in that program. But as one program ends, another one begins, and you'll see right there, November 11th, just 1 week later, next Friday at 10 a.m., it's getting cool enough to begin our volunteer beach grass planting program. So we encourage anyone interested in that to contact Jim Gould or Sandy Cross, and they can get your name on their list, and they'll be glad to have those extra hands. Any questions that I can answer for council? Yes,
Hey,
Mr.
Joe, thank you for your report. Just a question on the stormwater management thing.
Yeah.
The Phase 3, you said there'll be neighborhoods that will be, involved in stormwater projects and so on. Have those neighborhoods been determined yet, or is that still in process?
Yes, they've been identified based on past flooding and where we've seen standing water. And we're talking about larger basins. We're not talking about an individual intersection or somebody's driveway or property. Right. We're talking about large areas like you can see here that impact dozens of properties. And it doesn't mean that we can't come back in the future to look at other areas.
Right.
But these 5 basins have been identified as the biggest problems that we have in town. And some of them span several neighborhoods. So just one basin might actually involve 3 or even 4 neighborhoods who will be giving input at the beginning of the project to help identify the issues, and at the end to help identify solutions.
Right.
So,
Could we put those up on the website so folks could see them? I know I was excited to tell some of my neighbors about them. Those ones that were circled
I
on
think if
Yeah,
they
aren't already,
we'll be sure that it's up on the
sure
website.
that happens, yeah. Oh, well, thank you for your time this evening.
Thanks, Joe.
Thank you, Joe.
And I'll put in another plug for beach planting. It is a lot of fun out there. You don't have to be particularly athletic. And you really meet a lot of nice people. So I would encourage everyone to try it. It's a lot of fun. Yeah, Sandy and I are veterans. Yeah, I've got it on my phone.
All right, members of council, audience in attendance, town manager, thank you for the opportunity to talk. I'm going to do a real brief review of the monthly activities for the fire department. Chief Black is traveling. She's actually up at the National Fire Academy, I believe, sitting on a host of meetings that kind of works in with her serving as the president of the International Association of Fire Chiefs currently. So we'll jump right into our monthly calls for service. Our normal slide there, you can see we're actually down a little from where we were last year. However, we move on to the next one and you'll see we're trending kind of even with last year overall in our call volume. That happens some years where we'll be down a month, several calls due to maybe we had a nuisance fire alarm or something the year before. In our breakdown, this is where you'll see kind of our alarm activations are less. We had to go help our mutual aid partners a little bit less this year than we did last year. So our fire prevention skills are working well. Again, that same call breakdown just to give you kind of a better visual. For the month of October, we put in a combined 581 hours of training in the department. Our career staff put in 385 of those, which is pretty impressive for a month. Our volunteer staff equated up to 196 of those. And then our inspections, we of course started back November 1st. So you'll start to see the truck out in town a little bit more. We like to do those inspections when it's not in the busy season, so we're not interrupting the flow of business for our business partners in town. Some trainings that we highlighted in the month of October. We had several county opportunities to train outside of our own in-house training. So we had an advanced extrication weekend that deals with vehicle extrication and vehicle rescue. Had several members attend to that. There was a aerials class that teaches how to utilize the ladder truck to the best of its abilities, provides some basic and then some advanced skill sets with that. Fire Officer 1 class is a good career development class for our folks looking to move forward with their careers in the future. And then in-house, we did a thermal imager training, which is that picture you're going to see there. So the thermal imager is one of those CIP items that we have. It allows us to look at the heat of something and see the physical heat. And what you see going on in that picture is I actually built a small room that we could light a controlled fire in, ventilate, we could use a thermal imager then to train and see how those air currents move, how the fire actually looks, how that thermal imager is going to look. If we took a gloved hand, for instance, and put it down by that fire, how a victim's going to look potentially in a fire versus the actual fire, because it's kind of counterintuitive. If we took that thermal imager here today and looked at somebody, that individual would be the hot spot versus when we're looking at a fire, that individual is actually a cool spot. So it allows us that opportunity to train some there. We had our annual fire prevention night. We had well over 100 people attend. I believe a great time was had by all, especially a couple of our folks. One thing to note with the chief in her position as the IAFC president, she had the opportunity to attend the U.S. Fire Administration's Summit on Fire Prevention and Control. So this was actually developed or put into play by President Truman 75 years ago. And then, as happens at the federal government level sometimes, it got forgotten about and never occurred. The new fire administrator came in, found it, and said, hey, we should do this. It's a great opportunity, and it was great to have Chief Black there to kind of represent not only IFC, but also Duck in such a historic event there at that level. And with that, if anybody's got any questions, if not, thank you all for the opportunity.
Oh, hey, that's my house. I contributed to one of the fire calls, my rental house. The hot tub just got on fire. So thank you very much to the quick response. How does a hot tub catch on fire? Luckily, they were right there. So thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Chief.
And great night on the fire awareness night was really fun.
Yeah, that was a fun event. Good evening, all. I'm glad to be back with you after a brief hiatus. I'd be remiss if I didn't recognize Lieutenant Clark. A 2-week expected outage has turned into 2 months now, and in that time, I can honestly say I've not had to worry about a single thing. I know that she's had things well under control, so I very much appreciate you, Lieutenant. Okay, some of our stats from October, pretty consistent with what we see this time of year. The one thing you'll notice, business checks are up, and as we roll into fall, we do make a shift. Our focus becomes the many rental houses that are vacant. So that'll be, you'll be seeing officers more in the neighborhoods. We'll start our property check program up soon. So we'll be reporting on that in months to come, and glad to say that vehicle crashes are down because we haven't finished looking at all the stats, but I'm pretty certain that we had a record year for that, which is not a record we want to be known for. Call volume has remained extremely high. We've beat out the 4 prior years in both year-to-date calls and year-over-year. I want to report we installed 2 new radar signs in Sanderling, radar speed signs in Sanderling with the hope of slowing down traffic. But the one that we had the greatest hope for was the one just prior to Sanderling that was northbound facing traffic. So I've got some statistics looking at the last 30 days, and I'm very pleased at what we're seeing. So in that 30-day period, we saw just over 102,000 vehicles pass the sign, were actually detected. 4.37% or 4,400 vehicles were traveling at speeds between 46 and 55. So really what the success there is 95% of the vehicles that passed the sign were going at or below the posted speed limit, which shows us that the speed effectiveness of that sign is absolutely there. It's the right placement, and we're seeing vehicles slow down. 37% of those vehicles that were first detected exceeding the speed limit slowed down from the time they first saw the sign to the time they passed it. So again, really good there. The average of all the vehicles combined that passed was 35 miles an hour. So glad to hear that, or glad to see that rather. And really what kind of blew me away, because I expected this to be higher, only 17 vehicles in the last 30 days were traveling at speeds greater than 56 miles an hour when they encountered the sign. So it's working. And I hope to provide additional statistics to you on some of the other signs as we go forward. But one of our biggest concerns was traffic turning out of Oyster Catcher and having fast-moving vehicles come at them and not being able to do that. So we'll continue to watch that, but I think we've put a dent in that, and that's exactly what we wanted to do. Turning to the fixed license plate readers, we did make a change several months ago to a new vendor. Extremely happy that we did. One of the greatest things we've seen is that the technology used in the new reader allows us to get a much more accurate traffic volume count. And the reason for that is it takes multiple pictures of vehicles that they passed, and the software chooses the best picture as the detection. So the previous units that we had ran continuous video, so if a vehicle was in stop and go traffic, it might detect that vehicle 10, 15 times as it approached the sign and threw off our statistics. So extremely happy with the traffic volume numbers we're seeing, and I'm much more confident in them. We have added them, started 2 weeks ago, adding them to the weekly reports. So they'll be available to members of council and then posted on the website for any of the public who wants to access that data. And we've begun to talk about the idea of an interactive portal of some sort so that folks could go in and get statistics on traffic volume. In the last the month of October, we had 548,000 detections amongst our 4 cameras. And the data that really jumps out to me, or the data point, we had 178,637 vehicles enter duct from Southern Shores heading northbound. 100,817 of those vehicles continued on into Currituck County. So 56% of the vehicles that came into duct kept going into Corolla. So that backs up what I've said and many have said for a long time. Duck isn't causing the traffic problem. It's the traffic volume continuing into Currituck County that's causing a problem for us. So I hope as we go forward, we'll be able to have those numbers. We'll be able to build on this data over the next 12 months to have a year's worth of data. So excited about that, and just the analytics platform in the new system, just night and day over what we had before. So we're able to do a lot more. So as we get into that, we're learning more every day about the system, and I wish Joe was still here. Joe really is the backbone of our license plate readers. He's our manager for it, and he's a whiz on it. So hope to bring good things back to you going forward with those things. And with that, take any questions.
I'd just like to thank you for the updated reports that you've been giving us on that, the sort of those weekly travel counts, and then adding that statistic about how many people continue on. It's really been interesting.
I hope to add that particular data point to those weekly reports so that that's something we can track as we gather that data year-round.
Chief, on your last slide, what was the difference between, you had one number there was 500-some thousand detections, and then you had traffic entering was 180, 128?
So we operate 4 cameras. Each one looks in a different direction. So the cumulative total of those 4 cameras was 548,000. So that was total reads.
Thank you.
But that's amazing, because that basically says that almost 6,000 vehicles a day come into Duck, and then 3,000 of them continue north.
Go. Yeah,
That's a lot of traffic.
Even this time of year,
October.
as I looked at the volume that we're seeing, the daily volume even, those numbers they're not small numbers, and that road certainly was not designed to carry that kind of volume.
Right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chief.
Alrighty. I've been on this side reading public comments to you guys before and sitting where Lori is, so thank you for having me with the opportunity to speak to you tonight on behalf of the Public Information and Special Events Department. So with that, let's get into it. All right, so one thing that I wanted to touch on very quickly, especially since some of these updates are seizing for the season, specifically beach alerts. Betsy and I met with Dare County Emergency Management yesterday to discuss the addition of a couple of platform profiles to OBX alerts, specifically for beach nourishment, as well as public meetings. That is something that I would like to start including in our outreaches, the publication and the notification of different meetings that go on within the town. So you'll start to see those in the monthly presentations as well. So people watching at home or who do rewatch the video later on YouTube, they can see what meetings as well as events are going on throughout town. So we will be creating those profiles and sending those out. Beach Nourishment will be, the idea is to get out a text message to someone who is subscribed specifically for this profile, and it will direct them to our website and other platforms so they can receive the updates in a timely fashion. And I already discussed public meetings, but the hope with that is to continue to have an engaged and active community so they're aware of everything that's going on throughout the town. Joe described this in much more detail than I have, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this. The subline has been installed at Carroll Drive. Next is the installation of the access at Port Trinity, and we're still looking at a project duration of about 32 days. And again, I will continue to push those updates along with Betsy on our social media and website, and as well as the OBX alerts once that profile's been set up. Personally, I wanted to take a minute to thank everyone who contributed to the bulk waste collection form. This was the first time that we've done a self-reporting form, and it streamlined the efficacy of bulk waste. We had 112 submissions, so that was not bad. We did take feedback seriously with the photos that we had initially required to submit to Waste Management, and we removed that, but we did have that feature still available. And I think this was the most successful bulk waste collection we've had to date. I think we only had 6 misses compared to a higher number that we've had in previous years. So this is something that we'll continue to explore for future bulk waste collections. So keep an eye out for that in the spring. And I just wanted to say thank you on behalf of the town for those of you who took part of that and shared that with the community. So this is a fun project that Betsy has kind of spearheaded, and we wanted to present this to you essentially to get your blessing to pursue it. We're calling it Memory Lane because it will be an opportunity for people to memorialize a loved one, whether it's a human or a pet, within the town park. And this picture here, it's just the sidewalk right behind us in the town hall. But this little stretch of sidewalk is the first area that we are looking at. It will have the town seal in the middle and have the bricks working out from that. And I must apologize that we do have a sample brick that I unfortunately left upstairs. But I will show you examples of what the colorway would look like. But it would take about 3,200 bricks from the stretch where you see the horizontal line back to the walkway that connects with the amphitheater. So we're looking at about $100 per brick, and that includes 3 lines of personalization. The ink that is used is an inorganic natural material, so it is environmentally friendly. There's no paint, solvents, chemicals, so it won't have an effect on the environment. And it is a clay brick as well, so it is, it does promote the sustainability of that. And really one thing that we're considering with this as well is this gravel is not stroller friendly, it's not walker friendly. It does have a lot of mobility issues, so having a straight clay brick would allow for strollers to be pushed more efficiently and for people with mobility issues to not have to worry about ruts and rocks prohibiting them from moving throughout the park. We are looking at doing this as a once-a-year option, so we would try to have this set up so we could roll it out at the Yuletide celebration and do a bulk order every January. And we would have blank bricks as placeholders, so it's not like we would have, one brick here, one brick here. We would be able to have the blank bricks to fill that space. And one thing I've actually compiled since I started with the town in 2017 is a memorial bench interest list that is currently 68 people deep. And they've been waiting for years. I inherited Lori's wait list from way before I started, and these people have been waiting for some way to buy in to the town, and this would provide them with that opportunity at a more cost-effective rate as well, because a bench currently costs close to $1,500 after taxes, and this brick is $100 per brick. And if something were to happen with the brick, it would just be a $25 replacement fee, and it's something, again, that the community can buy into and have a piece here in the park. So that is something we are considering with your blessing. And again, these are just some examples of what the array would look like in the center with the town seal, and then we would have the bricks kind of coming off of that.
Okay, who would install the bricks? Is that part of the process, or do we have to use our folks to do that?
It is, and I believe, Betsy, correct me if I'm wrong, but Kim would have a part in that too. And I'm sure it might be something we could maybe involve some volunteers. But primarily it would be Kim. I know Sandy Whitman loves to, get his hands dirty a little bit, but that would be something that Kim Pittman would be responsible for. And he's been in conversation with Betsy as well, and this is something that he's also had a say in, and he's provided a lot of insight and great comments about it.
Thank you.
So,
Yeah, I love that idea.
Nice idea.
so if everyone's okay with that, then I will have Betsy continue we'll keep working on this, and hopefully I know we will have some materials together by the Yuletide celebration, so that way we can start getting it out and get that rolling.
Does that, just a question, does that just pay for itself, or is there some money the town makes on that?
There will be a little bit, and that involves for the maintenance and the upkeep, because again, the labor of it too. And one thing, to go back to the bricks itself, the company that produces these bricks, they've been around since, I believe, 1997, and they have installations at hundreds of North Carolina facilities, including Duke University's hospital, town of Aberdeen, town of Coates, high schools, churches. So they're vetted by all these other organizations as well. But the price that we would be charging, that $100 fee, would include the brick, the personalization, the installation, and the maintenance.
Okay.
The only thing is if something were to happen and it broke, and the other thing is that once it's installed, we would be able to provide them with a certificate from the company showing that your brick has been installed. Here's, if they wanted to gift it to somebody. So that is included in that cost.
Yeah, good project.
Again, this is something that I do want to start including in our outreach when we do our presentations. The next meeting will be the Duck Planning Board meeting, November 9th at 6:30. And something that went out recently in our e-news is the information about Vesta And Vesta is hosting a public forum on November 17th at 5:30, so that will be an opportunity for the community to come before the Project Vesta, I think they're just Vesta now, to ask their questions and concerns and just meet the people from Vesta and be able to have a conversation with them directly. So this is something that Vesta is facilitating. We're just giving them the space, so it's not an official public meeting, but they have encouraged the community to come and address them directly. Additionally, we do have 2 more Nature on the Boardwalks going on this fall. We have one on Wednesday, November 9th in the morning and one November 22nd in the evening. There is still space for both of these, so if you're interested, you can call or send an email to events@townofduck.com to register. I would highly recommend them. I've heard great things about them, so do them before they're done with the season. We also have the opening art reception for Jackie Turi, November 5th from 3 to 5 this Saturday. So it will be, an opening reception where you can meet the artist and get to talk to her and see her artwork. And having looked at some of it today, it's fun, and I would highly recommend stopping in and checking her out because she's super talented, and I love everything that she puts forth in her art, and I think you guys would enjoy it too. And last but not least, we do have the Yuletide coming up. That is Saturday, December 3rd from 3 to 5. It is here at Town Hall as always. We will have a new addition with Samantha Smith playing saxophone here on the green. So that will be very exciting. We'll have games. Well, of course, we'll have Santa Claus coming. The First Flight High School Chorus is going to come after doing their Christmas caroling around town to do the tree lighting. We are also going to be reaching out to the SPCA to have them on site, but we will be collecting donations on site as well for them and the beach food pantry as per usual. So definitely come check that out with your family. And let's see, I believe, short and sweet, that is it. With that, I'll take any questions.
Good stuff.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kay.
Happy Thanksgiving if I don't see you before then.
And you.
Good evening, everyone. Okay, I'm going to provide you a quick update, the monthly financial update. I'm going to go ahead and start with our total cash balance. We have $17,363,754. If comparing to last year's October cash balance, excluding the beach nourishment funds, we have had a 15% increase compared to October of 2021. This just shows our general checking account balance. We had $1,351,266 as of October 31st, 9.9% of our cash balance. We typically like to keep 10% in there. And then this just shows the rest of our investment accounts. We have just over $9 million in the North Carolina Capital Management Trust account, and then the remaining funds are in the PNC money markets and beach nourishment bond accounts. This just shows our revenue total collection with prior year comparison. I'm going to go into a little bit more detail in the next few slides. First, we received our sales and use tax for our July collections. This was an 11% increase from October of last year.
That's good.
And then property tax collections were for September. It was obviously down compared to October of last year, but last month we were way up because of the tax bills going out late last year. But we are still up $198,000 compared to last year. Motor vehicle tax for September collections was a 3% decrease. It was a $130 difference, so it's pretty much right on track. Occupancy tax was for the August collections. We are up $96,000 compared to the prior year. As you can see, it was a little bit higher last October though. And then lastly, our investment earnings, again, they're continuing to rise. The monthly yield for the Capital Management Trust portfolio was 3.06%, and then the money market accounts through PNC were 1.44 to 1.68%. We had almost $32,000 in investment earnings for October. And then this just shows our expenditures year to date. Overall, our expenses are generally within budget. You'll see some already showing a higher percentage spent, the insurances and things like that. But everything is within budget. And then this just shows the revenues versus the expenditures. As of October, the revenues were higher by $821,000, but you can see they fluctuate throughout the year.
Always a good thing.
And with that, I will take any questions. No? All right. Thank you.
Looks good, thank you.
Thanks, Jessica. Drew, any additional comments? You're all set. Thank you. Going on to item number 11, Mayor's Agenda. A few things I've got on here tonight. I'm having my Mayor's and Chairman meeting on the 15th of November. It's going to be hosted by Southern Shores. For those that are unfamiliar with that, on a monthly basis, the other Outer Banks mayors and the Chairman of the Board of Commissioners meet once a month, and we rotate the meeting from town to town. Also, I have the North Carolina Local Leadership Foundation meeting on November 17th. We're actually going through a rewrite of the foundation and re-looking at the charter. It's a foundation that's tax exempt out of the North Carolina League of Municipalities, and we're having a board meeting on the 17th. Just for the council's information, I am going to be stepping down from the board. I've been on the board almost 2 years now. I've served as president over the last 2 years. It's a good opportunity because we're redoing actually the charter and redoing the organization, and I will help them with the reorganization and redoing of our charter, but I will probably be stepping down here in later this year. I'm looking forward to the Yuletide celebration in December. That's always a lot of fun. It's going to be a little different this year, but Santa Claus will be there for everyone. In the opening comments during the consent agenda, I talked about the election. Election is next Tuesday, the 8th, and I was in communications with the chairman of the Board of Elections, and he asked the county and the towns to, in fact, enforce, people get out to vote, number one, but they're really stressing that you thank the poll workers and the precinct workers, and that, in fact, we have, they're our neighbors. We should treat them with respect, and hopefully we have no issues in the polls this year, and so that's the hope in Dare County, but I certainly urge everyone to get out either on Election Day or prior to and get your vote in. And lastly, I'd like to thank our departed PIO, Christian Legner, and Betsy Trimble, and town staff, and police and fire, and certainly our volunteers on yet a very successful jazz festival held mid-October. Looked like record crowds, great bands, and a fun time was had by all. So thank you to everyone who participated, and thank you for everybody that helped make it a success. With that, we're going to go on to item number 12, council members' agenda, starting with Mayor Pro Tem Monica Thibodeau.
Thank you, Mayor. I just have a couple of things, echoing the thanks for all the volunteerism and all the work that went into the Jazz Festival, and excited about the prospect of bringing the turkey trot back. I've always loved volunteering at that event and supporting it, so I think our community would really love that. Tomorrow, the Outer Banks Visitors Bureau is having a tourism summit down in Nags Head, so that's nice to bring that event back. It's been on hiatus for a couple of years with the COVID events, and so this is an opportunity for tourism on the Outer Banks gather to talk about issues, and to that end, there's a survey that the Visitors Bureau is talking about some long-range planning and talking about sort of working toward having quality tourism, for a better word. That's not their phrase, but it helps identify the fact that we want to, people that really care about this area and encourage that kind of visitation, whether it be birding or, surfing, those things that bring people down here. So they're visioning in what the Outer Banks will look like in 25 plus years. So there's a survey that you'll see coming out that I encourage everyone to get it, that's involved with the Outer Banks to take it. I think it takes about 15 minutes. I just got it the other day, so I haven't actually taken it yet. But anyway, lots happening with the Outer Banks Visitors Bureau, so look forward to the Tourism Summit tomorrow. Basically, that's all I have tonight. Thank you so much. Thanks to the fire department for putting out the hot tub.
Councilmember Rob Mooney.
I've got nothing.
Thank you, Rob. Councilmember Sandy Whitman.
I'd just like to thank the staff again for the Jazz Festival, the fire department for their Fire Prevention Week exhibits. And again, like Monica said earlier, Friday's the last trash pickup day, and then the following Friday we start planting beach grass again. And we're always looking for volunteers.
Thank you, Sandy. Councilmember Tony Shiano.
Yes, I just have an item about, I'm the representative on the Government Education Access Channel, Current TV, and all of the towns have a representative on it, but also Coastal Studies Institute, Dare County Schools, Coastal Studies, I said that, and College of the Albemarle. And this was a very interesting meeting because College of the Albemarle is doing a lot of really neat things. So if you haven't been and seen their new facility yet, it's a good thing to go see because they're really doing some great outreach programs. They reported, for example, this year that they typically have about 25 students that are English as second language. This year they've got double that number. They've got mid-50 there. Yeah, mid-50s, 56. So they're doing outreach videos, and they're getting all these kids into either the associate degree or a good vocational program. So that was really good. They're also doing some community outreach things. That they're doing dental outreach clinics. They're doing blood clot screening free of charge, because right now, that's a potentially hot issue. So they're working through the bugs, but watch their site. They plan on doing it on a regular basis every month. So they're really it's really a nice addition to our community, especially with their new facility. And I'm impressed with the the president, or I guess what they call him, of the college. Yeah.
Sweeney?
Yeah.
The dean.
It was a good report. So I just encourage everybody to stay in contact and look and see what they're doing, because there's stuff of interest to everybody. And then, of course, happy Thanksgiving and Merry Christmas if I don't see you. Thank you.
Thank you, Tony. Going on to item number 13. At this point in time, I'm going to open up for public comments. If anyone would like to address the council, please step forward to the podium and express your name and address, and limit your comments to 3 minutes. Being no one, we'll close public comments. And I'm going to ask Mayor Pro Tem if she'll read the motion to take us into closed session.
And I also should have said during my comments, thank you for all the participation tonight. It's great to see so many people engaged on this issue. So with that, thank you. And I'd like to make a motion to enter a closed session in accordance with Section 143-318-11A1 of the North Carolina General Statutes to prevent the disclosure of information that is privileged or confidential pursuant to the law of the state or of the United States, or not considered a public record within the meaning of Chapter 132 of the General Statutes.
All in favor of going into closed session, please say aye.
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 Opposed? We are now in closed session. right, now out of closed session, I'd like our town attorney to report out.
Thank you, Mayor. During the closed session, the council reviewed and approved minutes for the closed sessions of November 19th, 2020, November 17th, 2021, April 20th, 2022, August 3rd, 2022, and October 5th, 2022. And those minutes will remain sealed as per current town policy. Thank you.
Thank you, Robert. Is there any other business to come before council this evening? There being none, I'll remind council the next scheduled meeting will be the regular meeting on Wednesday, December 7th, 2022 at 6 p.m. With that, I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.